Happy Friday, man. I got the last show for the week. I got my friend Matt Flowers, and he's gonna talk about yoga. And I'm so excited to learn about yoga and wellness and his wellness journey. But before we do that, hey, it's the big baby. And I'm back. What's up, Matt?
What's up, dog? What's up? What's up? Big
Not
baby
much.
show.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, here on a Friday, loving life, living life, and loving all the other things that come with the shit. You know what I mean?
Man, that's good. Yeah, you just got back from a nice little birthday vacation. Obviously social distance and COVID free.
Man, wonderful experience. I mean, me and my group, we just got back from Costa Rica. And when I tell you, one, they do a good job with safety and things like that. But it's just so much space, opportunity, and just like good vibes there.
Mm-hmm.
Their country motto is called Pura Vida, and basically it just means pure life. And it's their greeting, it's their goodbye, it's their how you doing. It's like it means everything. Like you can say Pura Vida, and they're like Pura Vida, Pura Vida. You know, it's just everywhere. It's crazy.
So you trying to bring some of that Puerto Vita back to America?
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yes. And you know what? I think one of my favorite parts about it is that our Airbnb was absolutely beautiful. My girlfriend picked it out. I let her pick everything. Sample approval. Can't mess with that. But we sat on the west facing side of the Pacific for the country. You know, it's in Central America, so we're facing the west. And the sunrise is so bright and vibrant that it wakes you up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but like gracefully. It's not like no alarm that's like it's like alarm that's like so I'm just so thankful for being able to do that, and everybody in my group was very responsible. There was like at least like 3 or 4 different things we had to like plan to just be able to come back to the US. Like you have to get COVID tested there. We lived in the jungle the entire trip, so like you had to get tested like 24 hours before the trip. So like the way it all just worked out was just a blessing, man. It just like all the dominoes lined themselves up, and then once we decided to go and we just pushed that first domino, it just all kind of fell in line.
Man, that's dope. Because you've been locked down in New York for a year and some change,
So glad
and
to be out of the city.
and you were actually like responsible.
Bro, I stayed in my, you know, it's really crazy to like verbalize it and think about it, but I stayed in my apartment forever. Like I didn't come out, and when I did, I went to, you know, like the park and kind of just kept to myself, but like I didn't have any contact. And New York's a funny place because you have all these people just stacked on top of each other, but your friends may live in Harlem, may live in the Bronx, Queens, Lower Manhattan. Like, you know, like you have everything so spread out and diversified that it's hard to like have your own community right in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? Because like honestly, with all the gentrification and things like that, it's hard to find your pocket right next door. Plus, them niggas is rude as shit. So like, you're not just like meeting nobody on the street, just being friends for life. So yeah, so when pandemic hit, and you know, all of my New York income was based on social interaction. I was a professional model. I worked in the yoga space and personal training. So as soon as March 13 hit, I know that day very clearly because my birthday is on the 12th, and I threw a huge club banger, and then we was all locked down. But when March 13 hit, I knew that I was not going to be working. Like I knew that like I wasn't going to be able to like survive and like make an income out there. So I I felt trapped, you know what I'm saying? In my tiny Brooklyn, New York apartment, my roommate up and left. So I was there by myself for the majority of the time. And I think the only way I was really able to move out of it was, and mind you, there was depression periods and long ones at that. But the only way I could really move through it and like start being comfortable and happy with myself in those spaces, I mean, honestly, was through my practice and through yoga.
So, man, you kind of brought me to where I wanted to go, because being locked down for however long you were locked down, depending on where you're from, it's different. But for me, it was pretty much been locked down for the past year, where I'm at in California, and I like spending time alone, but I never knew that the small social interactions that I would have at a bar, at a restaurant or something, really would get me through in a regular week, because most weeks I go to work, come home, go to work, come home, maybe go hoop, some stuff like that. But
Sure.
most of my free time is spent in the house
Right. Right.
until it's time for me to go out and do what I want to do. And once that was taken away, I went down some dark places just from so much isolation. And even now, like, I have some days where I go, oh shit, let me go somewhere. Let me just go walk the dog. Let me go to the store just so I can have an exchange with a cashier. I just need something to
Right.
make sure
Right.
I'm fucking sane, because you go too long without talking to people, you talk to yourself way too much.
Right, right. No, that you hit the nail on the head, man. And when you think about it, we're all energetic beings, right? We
Mhm.
change, we manipulate, and these energies that are in us need to interact. We're social beings at the same time, right? So being able to spend energy is a way for us to interchange it. So we're spending and we're gaining, right?
Mhm.
Just like the store, you buy something, you take something home with you. Same thing with those small interactions at the bar. I on the other hand, I'm an extrovert like by nature. I like to interact with people, and that's how I feed off of those interactions, and that's how I grow in certain ways. And like thinking about me as an introvert is like we're both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have both sides to you. I think that's the same way when someone says like you have a masculine energy, but there's also a feminine energy that's there. It's just as men, and even as black men, you can even say there can be a lot more masculinity that's apparent or showing or telling in a lot of different ways. Um, so those small exchanges is how we develop and build our own energy and our own center, because at the end of the day everything we do is trying to get to an equilibrium. You know what I mean? It's all about balance. And when we realize that we're out of balance and we're stuck in our home or we're stuck in these places for too long and not able to venture out and find those energies and use them and manipulate them for our own uses, is, I mean, it's trying, right? So you have to find it somewhere, some way, somehow. And I mean, that's how you cope, right? You go walk your dog for an extended walk. You might find yourself into a new neighborhood you never discovered before because you just ended up walking that far because
Yeah.
you needed some extra time to yourself. And there's always really good things about that. I think my mom even, she same thing. Go to work, come back home. Go to work, come back home. Have her little happy hour with her friends, but then it's just a cycle. And
Mhm.
she's like, I didn't really appreciate it, but I love my house. And I'm like, you should love your house. You should absolutely do those things to your house that make you feel good and do those little DIY, whatever, you know.
Yeah, we don't want no DUIs.
but, but doing those small like tweaks and those small dedications is a way for us to use and spend our energy in the right way so that we gain something from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and because it's fresher and the pandemic is at a year, over a year now, it's easy to focus on a lot of the negative stuff that have come out, because it's more so what you're dealing with now. But early on, like the first 3 months, 4 months, it was like a really nice reset.
Right.
Nice way to remember like my priorities and and pay attention to stuff that I don't pay attention to, and really, search for that balance. But obviously, when you're in there too long, you lose that. And you spoke about how it helped you, your yoga practice helped you find balance.
Right.
Uh, Kind of let's talk about that. How did you get into yoga?
I'm glad you asked. So the first time I ever like experienced yoga firsthand. Now, as a rewind, if you say yoga, everybody in America kind of just is like, oh yeah, I know what yoga is. You know what I mean? Like you've seen it before. You may have seen a cartoon or experienced it on a off chance. You may not have been in a class before, but you've like at least heard of it and know that it's all spiritual, blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like actually being exposed to something and like understanding something as an option is interesting, right? It's like as human beings, we don't know things unless we're shown it. It's like the allegory of the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, right? It's like all your life you just think the world is this and that and the third, and then you find a prime mover who's like, oh, I can move. Oh, these are shadows. Oh, this is that and the third. Oh, I need to come back down and tell everybody that's stuck in the cave that like these are just shadows. You can unshackle yourself and come outside. And because you come outside and you can see the sun, I'm going to tell you not to look directly into it, not to damage your eyes, so that, you know what I'm saying, you can actually live outside. But as a prime mover, I didn't know that. So I looked in the sun and I was scorched. You know what I'm saying? It's that being able to learn from other people's experiences and mistakes that develop how we move and how we interact, right? I'm a younger brother. My brother got his ass beat for way more stuff that I got my ass beat for. And it's simply because I learned from his ass whoopings. You know what I mean? So I think it's funny because I think my yoga journey is very similar, right? As an athlete, I only knew how to work out, and I knew how to work out really well. You know what I'm saying? I knew my body. I knew how to move and how to interact and what muscle groups to work on. But when you think about it being balanced, sometimes those workouts don't create that balance, right? Unless you're very meticulous about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to yoga and my first experiences with it, I was my father remarried when I was about 19 years old.
Okay.
And my stepmother at the time had two younger daughters. And now the oldest two daughters that were a little younger than me and my brother. And at the time, I'm over their crib for like one of the first times, right? I've met them before, but this is the first time I'm in their space,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm sitting there watching TV. I think it was Tom and Jerry. And my stepsister's like, God, my back is killing me. And she's a contortionist. Now, understand this. I'm sitting there watching TV. I think we're all relaxed. And next thing you know, she does a back bend that completely like she's able to touch her hands to her ankles straight from like standing up. I'm like, this is this the Exorcist? Who did my daddy marry? Like, what is going on? I'm like, this lady is possessed. I gotta get out of here.
Bro, that shit was scared the fuck out of me, dog. Like, hold on, what
Dog,
are you doing?
dog, when I seen it and there was no warning. There was no warning. I gotta show you her page. It's Mackenzie Dreer. You gotta look her up. She is so talented, but she goes into this back bend, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, how does a body move that way? And that's her balance. That's her practice. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, you're not supposed to. And I'm like, well, like, what do you mean I'm not supposed? Like, I know I'm not supposed to, but like, how can you? You know what I mean? And from there, we got into a discussion
Mm-hmm.
about what each and everybody needs. And then, I'm just like, well, I work out. I don't need to take a yoga class. And then she's like, I mean, it's good for you. It can be good. It can be a nice way to balance you out. And so I try it. I try it a couple times and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but it's really not for me. Right. I
Did you
thought
take did you take yoga at Spelman?
I didn't take the class, but I absolutely went over there and sat in on the little thing that they did, like the gym, the open gym.
Uh-huh.
and they had a yoga class in there. And I wasn't taking yoga, but I was watching. But I would say, and mind you, this is after this is before we graduated, and then afterwards, I met a friend who needed a model for her yoga video. So I'm like, okay, I've done it before. I'm an athlete. I'm sure I could keep up. But what I didn't know was that it was going to be hot yoga. So when I tell you I was in there 30 minutes in, no, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I mean, the struggle was real. And at that point, I realized that there's ways to energize the body. And as an athlete and as someone who works out, you realize that like we're always doing things that are explosive. As an athlete, it's all quick twitch. It's all like getting from point A to point B very explosively and with a lot of acceleration. Also control, but a lot of acceleration. Yoga is about putting in an effort over a long period of time, but being able to control your equilibrium with your breath, right? So it's about maximizing. It's about maximizing your tidal volume, your lung volume and capacity, and also maximizing the effort and development of your muscles. And when I realized that, I just flipped a switch. So I'm like, oh, I need to do this every day. So with or without the heat, and mind you, yoga is also a way to build heat within yourself. Like you don't need, like there's certain practices that I do that I don't need to be in a hot room, but after 5 to 10 minutes, I'm sweating bullets because there's ways to build heat within ourselves. We have a thermal control and we're always looking for our equilibrium, but we can manipulate it. We can manipulate it to make ourselves a little colder or a little hotter, depending on the circumstance, and that can be controlled in a certain amount of ways. You know what I mean? So I started doing it every day. Go ahead.
What are some of those ways that you can control your heat? Because I've had experiences with just like body hardening, right? Putting your body through experiences so that you understand that your body is capable of functioning here under these circumstances. And then you kind of just normalize it. Like I've told people oftentimes being out in the cold, yeah, it's cold, but the difference between honestly 37 and 20, it's so damn negligible that you're cold. Like once you get in your mind that, hey, it's really not that bad and I can function, and you take your mind off of the cold, it's not that cold. Obviously, within reason.
Yeah, right. You get in the negatives, and it's like,
yeah, okay. It's like that's a whole other story. But talk about how you can like control, like ways that you can like kind of control your body temperature.
No, that's a really, really great point. And I'm sorry about your military hazing experiences, but I think that the best and easiest way to control is through your breath. Your breath is the exchange, and biologically, through you bringing in air, your air is warmed and moistened so that our lungs can turn that oxygen into a liquid form, and then that passes through our body. Same with carbon dioxide, right? That's kind of how our areoles that's how they function. So when you think about like increasing your breath, right, or increasing your temperature, you want to hold as much of that heat that you're breathing in down into your core. So like there's certain ujjayi breath, right? That's called ocean's breath, where you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, and you make this hissing sound. So it goes like right? And you feel that belly expands with air, and it's pressure. Now, if you really want to get into the physics of it, increasing pressure increases temperature, right? So being able to keep that inside, you're really bringing and raising the internal temperature of your body, and then you can distribute that into different areas. Now, I'm not no monk, and I can't light something on fire with my hands, you know what I mean? But I mean, there are people that can do that. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's not possible. But I think when it comes to application, like if I'm walking home and I'm in New York and I'm on the metro and there's snow on the ground,
And it's
I'm
brick
using my,
ass?
huh?
And it's brick ass?
Brick ass, boy. What? And the wind is gusting and like trying to blow you over, and you're like trying to fight the wind. No, I'll start focusing on my breath. I'm like, okay, I can't control what's around me, but I can control what's going on with me in here. So let me just go ahead and do my breath and start working myself out. And then on the opposite side, on a hot day, you know, when you know heat stroke is a real thing, taking your tongue and tucking it to the top of your mouth, like yeah, and just breathing in and out through your mouth. Try it. Try and breathe in real quick with your tongue to your roof of your mouth. The breath
it's cold.
is cooler.
Yeah, it's cooler.
It's cooler. It slows it down so that internal breath that comes through isn't as I mean, you're already breathing hot air, so being able to cool it down makes the equilibrium for your lungs at the optimal level, and that like decreases the mucus and all this and that and the third. There's so many different possibilities, and then I mean, there's so many different breath works. I like this one. It's called fire breath, where you breathe in and it's quick breaths out. And you do that for an extensive period of time. You're flexing your core, you're flexing your muscles, and you're keeping that pressure great in your midsection. That also increases heat. And then there's tons of other ones, the breathing in one nostril and out the other, creating balance and a cooling like atmosphere. And they work. You know what I mean? It's just all about utilizing the knowledge and buying into the knowledge as well. You know what I mean?
So, do you think your science background and undergraduate helped you embrace the knowledge more easily than a lot of other people would?
You know, that's an interesting question. I think as a scientist, I am open to a lot more things than other people. I mean, hell, science is wrong a lot of times, right? Like at a certain time in space and Earth, we all thought it was flat, you know, and then science
Some of us still
developed.
think it is flat. Stay woke, my brother.
If you are watching this, it's right.
Hey,
real quick.
third eye open, Matt.
I'm trying to, brother. I'm trying to, but like, there's always something out there to discover, right? And and with that being said, science is only our description. The science is only our human description of what we observe, right? If we observe it, we can try and test it so that our test yields similar results. We call it being accurate and precise. If our tests are accurate and precise, we can say with some level of certainty that our hypothesis going through a journey is, you know, is finite's not the word, but accurate and precise for sure. Gotcha. I think with yoga, buying into it and thinking about how our body responds to certain input, I am more open to for sure. Like and as a teacher, I think as a teacher, it absolutely helps. And the reason why is because I understand the muscle system very well. So yoga is all about posture and being able to lock different energies in the body. So there's 3 seals, as it were, in the midsection. I don't remember the names. Sorry, my yoga professors, but as a teacher, I know that if you lock this, and you can lock this, and you can lock this, and even there's a lock right underneath the taint. If you can lock those 4 things, you can experience an energy that flows directly from the bottom of your spine all the way through the crown of your head, right? Now it's a little difficult, right? You're talking about having your body, and that's why it's a practice. That's exactly why it's a practice. Because having your body lock, like think about, okay, now I gotta lock this, now I gotta lock this, now I gotta lock this, now I gotta lock this. It's like it's a lot going on. You have to be able to feel through it. It's not a like something that you can just power through. You have to practice it and you have to feel through it. But if I am teaching someone, especially if they're new, and I'm trying to get them into a posture or a pose, especially if I can see them. If I can't see them, I kind of just try and use what I know about the muscle system. But I'll say, tuck the hips inwards. And that tucking of the hips will automatically open up the chest, right? Squeeze the gut in. Feel that breath squeeze in. I know that that's going to bring the chest down and forward. You know what I mean? Open the chest, inhale, squeeze the back backwards and down. I know that that's going to open the chest up. That's going to open the abs so that they're long. And that's also going to lengthen the lower back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to sit there as a teacher and say, keep your head up, lift your shoulders, straighten up the lower back, squeeze the butt, flex the heels. Like, that's just too much to fucking deal with. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're in a labored position, especially if you're in like something like a plank or something like even Warrior 2. There's just too much to think about. So you got to come up with cues. And I think that my science background and my biology background absolutely changed that so that I can speak like that layman term. You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you, as someone who's attended your classes, you make it so easy because you're taking what we're actually doing, but you're explaining what our body is supposed to do and what it's supposed to feel. And like you're putting it all together. So sometimes if I'm off, I know I'm off based off of what you're telling me I'm supposed to be feeling, as opposed to you saying, like, make sure you have your pelvis thrusted, 45 degrees this way. It's like, okay,
what the
I feel
fuck
like
does
I'm
that
at
mean?
40, I feel like I'm at 45. You should feel this right here. This is this and this doing that. And I go, oh,
I
okay,
didn't
I'm
know it.
off.
I didn't even know I had that muscle. Or like,
Right. But then it goes, oh shit, I'm off. Okay, I'm gonna readjust, rebalance out. Okay, now I found that feeling. So I'm 75 to 80% confident that I found the pose to the best of my ability.
nail on the head. I'm so glad you said that, AC, because it's about you and your body. My yoga does not look like a white woman wearing leotards. My poses do not look like Becky from some yoga studio. Like, I just will not look like that. That's 100% okay, right? I think it's about getting into the right posture and pose for you. It's getting into the right posture that excites and metamorphosizes your practice. So like everybody wants to do a handstand, right? The best way to get into a handstand is to be able to open up your shoulders. So there's small things that you can do that don't look like a handstand, but you do them every day. You do them every day, maybe once, maybe twice a day, or maybe like 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? Finding that practice that's fine for you, feeling good about the energy that you're expending and gaining. And then before you know it, you're just like, well, let me just fuck around and try a handstand. And you get up there and you can hold it for a second. It's like, it's so interesting because our bodies are really made for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, our bodies are made for us, and our practice should only reflect us. And that's why I'm like, I'm not trying to teach just so that you can look pretty. I want to teach so that your body can feel good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You
Yeah.
know, what I like about so much of what you said is focusing on the internal. And so often we as humans focus on everything that's going on around us. We compare ourselves to our peers, friends, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But we know that you'll never find happiness there. And as much as we say, some of us say we're worried about ourselves, we don't worry about other people. We do, and to some degree, it's healthy to know what's going on outside.
Sure. Sure.
But you talk about the focus on self. How important is it to understand, not only with your yoga experience, but in life, that you have to find what works for you, and you have to find that strength within yourself, and then obviously display that in the world in a place where it fits, because you can love yourself 1,000 times over but not meet society's standards, and then you be a terrible person, right?
Sure.
So some of what happens outside matters, but talk more about that inner peace that we should be looking for.
Yo, that's a great question. And I want to just change one thing you said. You used the strength that we have inside.
Okay.
I want to change that to the comfort that we have inside.
Okay, comfort, I like that.
It's the comfort that we have inside. It's the comfort with ourselves, right? My uncle Pete, smart as hell. He said, Matthew, you can't worry about running someone else's race because you'll trip, drop the baton, and lose. You only got to stay in your lane, run your race to the best of your ability, and be proud of that. You know what I'm saying? And that is the exact thing that I try. Now, we as humans, we fail, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because, like you said, there is some value into comparing what's going on in the world to our situation. But we have to be content with ourselves inside first. Because if we just compare what's outside, we will always 1,000 times be different because you and me are unique as hell. We are the only diamonds that look exactly, act exactly, and are exactly like us in time over the entire span of the universe. Like it's such a crazy concept. We are the only unique things of our kind in the entire universe. So you sitting there and comparing now understanding what's going on helps feel the internal. We learn from our environment. I mean, as kids, right? It's like you learn a whole bunch of shit from your friends. But our parents laid certain foundations where if your friends was like, yo, go over there and touch her booty, it's like, nigga, you want me to die when I go home? Hell no, I ain't going over there to touch nobody's booty that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just it feels like that asinine. And
Hey, real quick though, just think about what you just said.
yeah,
And we know that was behavior of our youth.
right.
It was. And I say youth is anything before we were 25, okay?
Oh God.
But think about what Me Too has done to change that behavior,
Yeah.
and how wild it was that was common practice for women to be treated that way.
And boys will be boys.
And that was the answer, like, oh, they're
Crazy.
just being boys.
That is so crazy to me. Yo, I mean, talk about a pivot because me and my lady, we talk about this all the time. And it's like, all right, I hate to do it because I know it's a whole conversation. But when you talk about like Bill Cosby and then Harvey Weinstein and like how media, how the world treated them differently, it's like you gotta realize it's wrong. It may be the same kind of crime, and both of them need to be treated in a very serious lens. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it shouldn't be like that. Oh, they're trying to go after Bill just because he's this, that, and the third, and he's trying to do this, that, and the third. It's like maybe, but at the end of the day, it's wrong, and it needs to be treated seriously. And
Yes. And that was my thing with the Bill thing. I don't care about the why. Their reasons for wanting to care about this now could be totally fucked up.
right.
But did he do the what? If he did the what, then I don't care what the why is. It's justified. And another pivot, a funny thing about that conversation, and
Yeah.
I'm not defending Bill Cosby. I'm not
Sure.
defending Bill Cosby. I'm not defending Harvey Weinstein. I want to put that out there. But I also think when we look at all of these situations, you have to try to look at it through the lens of the time in which it occurred versus today. And it starts off with, hey, this was wrong. We got that.
Right.
But then it goes to, was it a social norm? Was it socially acceptable? Or was it one of those things that we're going to turn a blind eye to? It's like, hey, I won't do it, but if you do it, that's your business. And you know, because it's like how they're trying to cancel certain historical figures because they own slaves. And I go, okay, yeah, maybe he was a bloody racist. Got it. Understood it. He owned slaves. I'm not going to call every person a racist just because they specifically owned slaves. Now, again, not just because given the time that you're in, like if you're rich, you pay.
Well, let me give you a break here real quick.
Okay.
I will only say this: they were racist because everybody was racist.
Yes.
It was the socially acceptable thing to be racist. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
So I'm not gonna just like make the slave thing the race thing. It's like, no, you're rich. You pay. When we pay for things that we don't want to spend our time doing.
Yeah.
And if you can buy something one time, one time fee, and it does your work for you, why the hell would you make regular payments on something when you can make one payment to get the same amount of work done? But not trying to say that people are machines, but you get the point that I'm making, right?
I understand what you're saying.
So, but when you say, oh, this person shouldn't have a statue because they own slaves, you go, well, it was socially acceptable to own slaves if you made a certain dollar figure. So even though it's wrong, I can have a little bit of understanding as to what you're doing. So Bill Cosby drugging women and Weinstein saying you want this role, you got to suck this dick. That's not right. I'm not going to defend it. There's no way I can defend it. And even though some of that was behavior expected of people in powerful positions, especially the Weinstein shit, not necessarily the drugging of women, it's not as egregious if it happened back then as it is if it happens now, if that makes sense. But again, it's still fucking disgusting and it's terrible.
Now you use the word egregious, and I gotta disagree with you, because I think it's egregious now, it's egregious then. I think that the raping and pillaging of the Mongolian barbarics was egregious. You know what I'm saying? By the definition of how we live, we have to realize that those things absolutely are egregious. There's nothing here, there, or different. And as we evolve, right? And I'll say this too: the reason why we look at Mongolia and can just like disregard it or like just say, oh, it was just Mongolians being Mongolians, is because we were far removed, right? And slavery is very close to home still. My great grandfather was a slave owner who had a child with a slave, sold that slave, and my great grandfather said fuck you and left and didn't want anything to do with the slave master history and wanted to rewrite his own history and start his family. I say this because he is a prime mover. He is someone who saw what was going on. He saw how he was treated, and he decided to do something. As much as I wish that my great grandfather, the slave owner, would have been that prime mover, he wasn't. He was in that place where, oh, it's just okay. Everybody's doing it. You know what I'm saying? And it took someone in my family to be a part of the lineage and decide I choose my blackness. I know that it's also not as much of a choice for me just to choose because I will be thought of as a nigger. So I have to I know I'm gonna have to deal with this, but at the same time, I want nothing from the slave master who is my father. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's blood. But it's that realization of what's right, what's wrong, and am I gonna sit by and watch and enjoy my privilege, or am I gonna fucking do something about it? And every generation who did not do something about it and is alive today should feel regret, shame, and a real sense of, all right, I need to do something because history cannot repeat itself.
I like where you're taking this because, Kanye came under heat for saying slavery was a choice, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says, he was not wrong for what he said. Could he have contextualized the conversation a lot better? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
But I see a lot of our people in the same boat today where they will point to all of the external things going on around us that make accomplishing goals a bit more difficult, but not making the uncomfortable decision in order to get the freedom or liberation that they're looking for.
I think I know what you're saying. And honestly, I think it goes back to that internal piece that we talked about. It's that being able to critically think about what's right and wrong, not just about what happened in our childhood. Like there's certain things that we understand are innately right and wrong, but our society is so complex that there's a lot of what we think of as gray areas, right? There's a lot of things that we think, okay, this is mixy, but is it wrong? Is it right? It's hard to tell. But it takes those people that are prime movers. It takes those people that have absolutely channeled all of their chakras, whether purposefully or by accident. Because let's be honest, being a slave in America means that all of your history was taken away from you. All the knowledge that was taken away from you. Yoga was practiced in Africa. There were certain other types of wellness that were practiced in Africa. Only a certain amount of those things made it over because why? They killed everybody who had that information. You kill your history you kill your history, you burn your books, you no longer have access to all of those things. Then it's hard to understand where that inner peace comes from because you're solely dependent on recreating this wheel that had already been created. I think that's a difficult concept for people to understand. Is that we live in a place where I have a cell phone. I don't have to memorize numbers, but my father did. That's useless information. There's a sociological concept or term for that. Useless information at the end of the day. And it's that fact that I can depend on not having to recreate that circle. Now, if I have been labored with nothing but having to recreate my inner peace circle, it's gonna be so fucking difficult. It's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be challenging. But once I've done it, you have a responsibility as someone who has been liberated to liberate your neighbor, to liberate the next person, and the next person, and the next person, and the next group.
Here's something that I think so many people miss about the importance of society and community and the whole social contract and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're here to support one another. And if we support one another, it makes the world a better place for everyone.
Right.
But because of fear that there's somebody who's not going to pull their weight, we then internally focus on doing the things that support ourselves and our interest. And that's where all of these divides in society come from. Like, if you really want to look at it, we talk about the poverty gap, we talk about racism, classism, colorism, any ism that is based in hate if you go to something as simple as love your neighbor as yourself, these basic principles, living in a place and making decisions for the collective and not the individual is then bolstered by the collective. A nice sports reference is Tom Brady taking pay cuts and restructuring his salary year in and year out so that his team could acquire more talent, in turn increases his legacy, makes him the undisputed GOAT. When you win more, you get more endorsement, so then you get more money. Guess what? He's going to be able to charge whatever he wants for the rest of his life to just give a 20-minute speech on leadership. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's so many avenues that have been open for him just because instead of saying, I know I'm worth 40 million, I'm going to take 25 and y'all can do something with that other 15. And he still
Matter of
gets
fact, let me tell you what to do with that 15. It's like that sacrifice. We
yes.
don't realize the value of our sacrifice because we can't see ahead. And we don't necessarily trust people with the value of our sacrifice to do the right thing. And honestly, a lot of it boils down to this, I mean, fighting for these capitalistic structures and not necessarily allowing for socialism to come and flourish as a support mechanism. Now, I'm not saying get away with capitalism. I'm still an American. I understand the American dream and, this, that, and the third. But at the same time, you're right. It is a selfish feeling of, I could pull my weight. I could give this little extra, but I don't know if that guy over there is going to. I put it the other way because I don't know if it's you. But that guy over there might not. You know what I'm saying? And that feeling of uneasiness and unsureness makes us insecure. Makes us feel like, oh, I gotta just hold on to things. I gotta keep these things inside. And the more I reach out to grab, the less I can hug myself. You know what I'm saying? And be like, this is good. This is okay. Like, you're doing the right thing. That reassurance of like physical presence, it outweighs the spiritual value of being okay with our heart, our mind, and our spirit, right? Like, and I think that's one of the powerful things about yoga is that it's all about balance, and you really can apply that equilibrium structure to your life in a way that, all right, maybe my physical look great, but my spirit is down. I'm thinking very terrible thoughts. I'm no longer feeling like I'm a positive like influence into society. And that cripples people. You see all these people with all this money and all this wealth and all this success, and then they commit suicide. It's like, yo, if I had your life, you don't realize how heavy the crown is until you're wearing it and you realize that it's a coveted position and you can't trust anybody else with that crown.
When the song "More Money, More Problems," and people with no money love to point at people with money and say, "I take your life." And don't get me wrong, if you're living to thrive versus living to survive, obviously you take on that life any day.
Sure.
But what gets missed is the different levels of stress that come along with that, the different things pulling at you that can break you down in other ways. And people just want to act like that shit doesn't exist. You see it in sports all the time. Oh, he has all that money. He should just be fine and just suck it up. No. Guess what? I don't want an incompetent boss. I don't want to show up to a game knowing that I'm going to lose no matter how good or bad that I play. Like I played like that in high school. I was a DB, and I could walk into most games and know what the outcome was going to be because our offense was putrid, could not move the ball, could not score points. And you dead ass know that if we don't pitch a shutout and score a touchdown today on defense, we're not winning. We're not fucking winning. And it's like, do I really want to do that extra rep in practice? For what, nigga? We still gonna lose. Now imagine being a high-end athlete, knowing that, and or just high-end anything, knowing that you're going to work to fail no matter how good or bad you are. Who the hell wants to be in that space?
And that's the point. You have to do things not for other people, but you have to do things for your spiritual, mental, and physical balance. You have to do things that energize your light so that you can shine that light on everybody else, right? It's that infectiousness that like true leaders have, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And now this is where it gets interesting. Your light can shine bright while still being unbalanced, while still not having those checks and balances. And you can be a strong leader. Now, when you are that, what do you do with that leadership? Because sometimes it's evil. Sometimes it's slavery. Sometimes you do anything you can absolutely do to make sure that your plantation stays in your family.
Bro,
At any expense to any other person.
It's Hitler. Hitler, one of the best leaders ever.
My girl says it all the time. Historian, she's like, Hitler did everything right for Germany.
He did, like,
was Germany.
He was like, he was focused on us, and then he could build the hate around everyone else who was not for them, and he could point to World War I and how they got bankrupt. You see, these niggas don't fuck with us, bro. Fuck them. And he made them believe what he wanted them to believe, and he was able to empower those people. The same thing I tell people about Trump. I hate when people say Trump is stupid. He's this and that. Like, look. He's not stupid. If you watch his life story, I'm not a business guy, but I've seen the finessing he's done in business and how he's made money off shit, but not really turned a profit. But you know, he made money, moved it, pushed it elsewhere, and like niggas didn't get paid for work that he had them do. You know, like he's done some sly shit. But then when you see what he did politically, how he weaponized the base, how he emboldened people, it's good, effective leadership. Because at the end of the day, what is leadership? Influence. Now, is the end state is
go ahead and say it. It's evil.
It's fucking evil. Yes, it's evil.
He will do anything to keep what he's got, and not only that, but expand it and grow it. This man is a serious threat.
Yeah,
he's a serious threat.
That's why I was okay with him being banned from social media. I'm like, bro, we gotta get this thing off.
I'm okay with that too, because I mean, if you can't touch your people, and they, you know, then they start getting divided, and once they start dividing themselves, that's when they start to fall. And that's
civil rights movement. You know, once King was gone and Malcolm X were gone, they were able to take the two major freedom fighting organizations, let them crumble because the others weren't built for that.
Absolutely. And that is a part of the systematic structure that keeps this there. You know what I mean? And I mean, when you really look at it and think about it, it's self-preservation at its best and worse, right? And it's like, what are we gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do something about it because once voices create some type of actual change, they somehow get silenced, right? Just think about the last year. With all of the protesting, rioting, looting, insurrection, all of this shit, right? There are multiple groups of people with different ideologies and different end goals upset with the same people. But they're so upset with each other that they won't work together to focus their energy on the true source of their anger. So instead of looking at the system as a whole as the problem, They look at the part of the system that they don't like, and they point at that. And because I'm on the right side and you're on the left side, and I'm mad at the left and you're mad at the right, we're doing like this instead of doing like this because we're mad at the structure that we're in because it's not supporting us properly.
Society is not one thing. Society is, I hate to say it, but an infinite amount of pillars.
Yes.
And the pillars raise our society into what we see on an everyday basis. So changing one pillar ain't the shit. Changing one thing is not going to do it. You gotta take down the Constitution and rewrite the shit. Now we're gonna get into a whole conversation that's not even
a conversation that I don't know if we can like legally have because of how
my man, America. I'm not saying that.
No, I tell people all the time the Constitution was one of the best documents written because it is damn near foolproof. If you come out against the Constitution, that's treason. So you're done. If you try to change the Constitution or actually get rid of it, you have to get so many people to be on board with you. You're never going to get that many people who are ready for that type of radical change.
Who are invested in the anti-change. Who are invested in staying still and keeping the shit to how it is. They really don't give a fuck about us. They don't. I mean, you can see it with Bitcoin. Elon Musk tweeted, Bitcoin's this shit. And what did it do? An entire market exploded. Like, that much influence and power is just ludicrous to me. But then what can we do as individuals? And I was having this conversation before, and it's you have to obviously give people examples of how to strengthen your light. How can my light affect my neighbor, this, that, and the third, and create a pillar and cascading effect into the lives of anyone and everyone that I can possibly touch. Because as a single human being, yeah, obviously with social media and things like that, you can reach an excessive amount of people, but every single person has an enormous amount of inputs that are coming into us. Our diet is not just what we eat, it's what we see, it's what we hear, it's what we taste, it's what we experience.
Can we talk about that diet real quick? Because I'm not someone who watches a lot of television.
Mm-hmm.
I consume a lot of podcasts, whether it's radio shows. I do more listening than I do watching.
Sure.
But I talk to people who watch television, and there's so much filth. And don't get me wrong, I stick my nose in and out, but there's so much goddamn filth on TV that is, especially reality TV, because it's based on real life, but it's not real life. But people fall in love with these caricatures of actual people, and they think they're in love with the person, but they're in love with the caricature and the edits and all of this. And we find ourselves like, as so many people, because you talk about the prime movers. Everyone's not a prime mover. There's a lot of sheep out here, right?
Right.
And a lot of the sheep are watching this shit on TV, and they don't watch it as entertainment. It becomes goals. Like, me and you can sit and watch an episode of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta and laugh at it and actually enjoy the show, right?
Right.
And then walk away from it.
Enjoy is a strong word. Enjoy is a strong word.
But for the purpose of the story, we can enjoy it, but we're not gonna be like, oh, this is what life is actually like outside. Right. This is like this is like what I want to be. Like, for one, you look at some of those places in Atlanta, you go, that place is never that empty unless you fucking
go there in the middle of the day and fake it.
Right. So, but you have so many people who like take that stuff in and they think that's real life. Also, because they never left their hometown, they never been in those environments to see what actually happens outside. Like, both of us have been in situations where we've been out with people who had more money than us, people who we can see on TV and shit.
Right.
Them niggas be chilling.
Oh yeah. Oh, they don't even like the excess attention outside of the attention that they aim to show. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And you know what? That brings me to a great point. And it's a little bit of a stray, but it's my own personal experience with doing my yoga practice. As you know, we're in group chat, and I have my own sets of group chats, and my network is, I feel like it's dense. Thank you, Morehouse College. And and I find it difficult to excite, especially, I mean, Black men are the majority of my network, so I'm going to talk about what I know. I'm not going to put anything out there that's not for me and what I'm experiencing, but just my personal experience. It's difficult to convince Black men that yoga is going to be good for you. It's going to be good for your body. It's going to be good for your spirit. It's going to be good for your mind. It's difficult for me to convince folks to even come and take my class. I'm talking about some of my best friends. I remember I was talking to one of my best homies, and I was like, yo, you got to come take my yoga class. He was like, yo, I hate yoga. I'm like,
bro, it's your man.
Okay, I mean, I guess you just hate yoga. Like, that's just what you truly believe. But there's always something in something that you can learn and take away from. So like that vibe of hating something or like being totally against something, I believe it's just small-mindedness. You know what I'm saying?
It's so funny because I'm in a group text with you and you drop the shit in there. And the excuses that niggas be coming up with, like it's always, oh, I'm hungover. And the first time I did it, I was hungover. And it was like going for a jog when you're hungover. You don't want to do it. But once you get started, it's like, oh, I'm getting the blood flowing. Like,
this is starting to make me feel a little better.
I'm curing my hangover because I'm doing something that's active. And it's like, hey, niggas, come to the class. Like,
try it.
Yeah, like, I've been to two. I've enjoyed them. I bought a yoga mat. No bullshit. Because I plan to, on the Sundays that I wake up, I got to make sure I'm up.
Right, for sure.
I'm on the West Coast. If I'm up and functional, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna, saying, shoot my man's mat a couple coins. I'm gonna come to class because, for one, I understand what it's like to be trying to provide a service for people,
right?
And wanting people to just like consume your shit. And some of it's like, hey, you're my friend. Just do it once.
Just do it once.
Like some of this shit. Like I've had friends go, nigga, I'm not listening to you on a podcast. That's fine. Just subscribe and have your auto downloads on. So like when my shit comes up, you download it. I'm getting numbers.
Thank you. That's it. And if you happen to listen to one and it's okay, and you got a little bit of feedback for me, cool.
Yeah, thanks. But it's not
light. Shine your light to me, and I will hopefully shine my light to you. Let's exchange.
Exactly, because and you think about the group text we're in, we give each other gambling advice all day long for free.
Right.
Like nobody minds saying, hey, hop on this bet. I'm feeling good about it tonight, or hey, here's my strategy here and there.
Right.
Or shit, even now, like niggas are giving out like their stock advice. Like shit. How long ago was niggas yelling buy Doge?
Doge, Tilray, I mean, all that stuff.
And then Mark Cuban goes, hey, we're accepting Dogecoin now for the Mavericks. And that shit shoots up. And Jude's like, I've been telling y'all niggas to buy Doge. Like, so just a little, like, we share all this information that other people would charge for because we have people who make big money gambling. We got friends making great money in the stock market.
That shit's crazy, by the way.
Bro, it's fucking nuts. Like Pierce hits like
twice a year. Just like, what is your profit margin? Like what?
The thing is, he's up though.
Up for sure.
But like another conversation. But anyways, it's like all this information is being like all this information is being shared. All these conversations are happening. But y'all niggas ain't got like an hour just to like go to a yoga class. You ain't got to turn your video on. And like if it's some shit you can't do, my nigga, then just don't do it. You just
Just
wait.
don't, like, yeah, like, and I think I do a pretty good job. If I give like an advanced pose, I like there's another less advanced pose that my
Yes,
uncle could do. You know what I'm saying?
but you set us up for hey, you can go here, but if you're feeling a little bit stronger, you know, if you want to get to maximize it, then you can go here with it. You know, it's like when you're doing, you know, 6 inches, you can put your hand under your butt to get to. You still gonna strengthen your core,
Right.
but if you put your hands to your side,
then you're talking about another muscle group. Or yeah, absolutely. And I think that I really appreciate what you're saying, because you know there was a point in time where I was disappointed that some of those people weren't showing up. There was a point in time where I was like, damn, like I could, one, I could use you being there. But two, like, you know, I feel like I'm offering something good, and like you just won't even come to the lake and drink. And it's like, you can't make a horse drink.
bruh, when I tell you I've felt this with my soul, because like I've been podding for over 3 years now. I remember doing like a live event one time back home. And I've told the story multiple times on here. I had people like reposting my flyer and they didn't show up. And I'm like, you don't get no clout for posting my flyer.
Right.
Like, actually pull up. Like, don't get me wrong. Thanks for the extra help.
Thank you.
But like, I want you to be a part of this. Like, I want you to consume this. Like, I'm trying to bring you like into this family.
Right,
you
right.
know?
And you know what? No, go ahead, finish.
And like, when it comes from your friends, because you know when you're sticking your foot out there, you're gonna get criticism, whether it's active criticism or nobody consuming your shit. It's just like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
But then when it's like the people who are like close to you, you just feel like, oh, this is personal. Like, damn, bro, you don't even fuck with me the way I thought you did. When
you feel that, right?
You
and
feel
you know,
it.
It's I think it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter in a certain way. Where you get all these people coming for these marches. You have all these people showing up. But these be some of the same people that make a work environment very uncomfortable for people of color. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I went to Black Lives Matter. Can I touch your hair? Bro. Like, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Well, think about the companies who like put out posts and made donations in solidarity, but their hiring practices didn't change.
Because it was a fad. Some of these people do not practice they don't practice what they preach. You know what I mean? And I think that's a part of the disheartenment. And it's just like, what do? You continue doing your podcast. You continue teaching. You continue making things available. And they may catch on, but it'll be after some random person in Idaho sees it and it's like, oh my God, that works so well for me. I'm gonna share this with these people and that people. Or you just never know. But what you always have to do is work on your light and share it in that order, right? You got to work on it and share it. They kind of work the same, but it's always that internal. I got to make myself the best I know I can be. And right now, that might not be like I'm a yoga teacher at this point. 20 years from now, I will have passed what I am now. But that's because I don't want to be stagnant. I want to continue learning and continue growing and continue reaching and just putting things out there. Because like you said, you got to put it out there. But you got to make sure that you do your research, you do this, that, and the third, and don't wait too long. You know what I mean?
Bro, I could just yell that 1,000 times because what I'm doing right now, I wanted to do when we were in college.
Right.
And I just didn't. And I didn't research alternative means after I ran into the first roadblock. I was like, whatever, I'll do something else. And I never just like said, hold on, how can I talk about shit with people who I fuck with? You know what I mean?
Right. SteamYard.com.
But so hold on, I got a couple of like journalism ass questions for you before we get the fuck up out of here.
Okay, all right, what's up?
So you talked about prime movers, and Matt, you are a prime mover. I fuck with you all the time and talk shit, call you a cheat code, because you're tall, you're light skinned, and you green eyed motherfucker, right? But
That is me, yes. Light
for
skin.
one, you and I have just some funny stories that like are weird because of our weird friendship through multiple friend groups. You
Right,
know,
for sure.
just Panama City and Vegas are two just funny ass times.
Hey, don't bring up the bathtub now. Don't do it.
I wasn't. I just wanted to just say, hey, you know, we got funny stories just that don't even make sense. But
Sure.
But back to you being a prime mover. When you stepped on Morehouse's campus, people knew who you were very quickly. And like you're not braggadocious. You're not a loud guy. Like you're just cool ass Matt. Like
Thanks, bro.
You're so interesting because like one day you're like spaced out talking about some random shit. You know what I mean? You're into like your yoga, your whole human health, and then like you can still have conversations with the niggas. You know what I mean? You know, but like the range is amazing. But I'm done fucking complimenting you. But you go to New York, you become a black man modeling and doing yoga, and you know a lot of people would call that shit gay. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like, bro, nigga, you doing gay as fuck, bro. Like what? Like what is this? Like I know because I know you. I know, bro. You don't pay that shit no attention. You're Matt, bro. Like I know your friends. I know how your friends talk shit. So like,
right.
You're not moving scared about worried about how people feel, but going into like being a model and doing the yoga thing, like talk about that a little bit because it's so non-black masculine, but
sure.
There's nothing feminine about what actually happens because if you do yoga, bro, that shit is hard, especially if you're out of shape and you don't have good core. Like, yeah, nigga, that shit sucks. But also modeling, when you go out, bro, and you see somebody who fresh as hell, you go, hey, bro, that shit clean and fuck. And then you might even and you might steal somebody's outfit and wear it in a different city or in a different side of town, whatever. Right. But it's like we can acknowledge that, but we can't acknowledge somebody as a model or a yoga instructor. So you know what I mean, like
without giving them that tag. And you know, that's a good point. And I bring it back to an earlier point. It's 100% how I feel inside. And like I will say, there's certain times in my life, and like it's a constant battle. It truly is, because some of that shit does hurt my feelings, and I say that in a way that's like damn, they still think this, or like damn, I like what, like seriously, you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, I've developed a core group. I've developed a core family that believes in me, that loves me no matter what. And not everybody has that. So I recognize how special that is. But then again, it's also given me the space to work on myself and to feel good and comfortable with who I am. And that translates into, oh, you want me to model what? Honestly, I don't care how much you're about to pay me. That's not what I'm about to do. But thank you for the opportunity. If you ever do a shoot that is like this or within my range, call me. You know what I'm saying? Like, no hard feelings. You might have an assumption that you want this, that, and the third, or you might like expect something from me for giving me an opportunity. But it's just like, oh, no, you can keep your opportunity. I'm good. I might be struggling to pay rent, but I'm going to figure it out. Or like I might have a certain situation where, you know, this is a great opportunity and I've been waiting for one, but then realize it's not great. Realize there's strings attached to it. And being able to say, no, that's okay. You know, and that's not who I am and what my brand is going to represent. we don't need to be partnerships. There's someone out there, and this something that I really want to get across. There's someone and something out there that is for everybody. That's for whoever needs to hear exactly that. And you don't need to subscribe to things that aren't that specific opportunity, because it'll create a distance away from it. You will lengthen the distance away the thing that God intended for you, because you took a lesser distraction. I could even say a devil, if for my religious folks listening, but you took a distraction away from where you were intended in God's will, and that just created your opportunity to be a little further away from your reach.
Man, and you know what scares me about where the society going with, and I don't want to sound like a crazy old man, but like with cancel culture and forcing everybody to try to understand things and judging them because they have a different thought process, right?
Right.
That that is just so scary because you talked about, hey, everything's not for everybody. Some things are for some people, some things aren't for other people, and there is somebody for everything, you know.
Right. Exactly.
No matter how good or bad it is, and obviously we want to hit as many with our thing as we can, but at the end of the day, it's certain stuff that like, hey, bro, that goes against my morals, my values. I'm not gonna do that, and I'm comfortable with saying, hey, you know what, Matt? I like black coffee, hot as fuck, heavy on dark. Yeah, nice. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
okay saying that. But if somebody tells me, hey, I get me a mocha frappuccino every day, I can just be like, all right, cool, bro. I
Sounds
don't want
good.
that
Get
shit.
me something black. Like,
Right. Yeah, I don't want all
you
that
do.
sweet shit. I just want my coffee. Like if I'm drinking, I either want my beer or I want my bourbon, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to drink Crown and Coke tonight because I'm not. If I want to like my liquor. I don't want to add no soda to make my liquor taste good. So that's me. But if you want Crown and Coke, I'm not gonna knock you for that. And I think we have to get out of calling people phobes and telling people that because you think differently from me, you're closed-minded. No, 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 no. My mind is open. I've taken in this information. It doesn't work for me based on my experience, based on what I'm read up on, what I believe in, and I just don't fuck with it. So it's just so difficult because I feel like society is trying to bring us all together, make us have a one-track mind, and not have our own individuality. And I think individuality is so important. And what I was saying about you, Matt,
Yeah.
is you just got individuality. Another quick yoga question for you.
Yeah. I got what 5% on my phone.
Okay, we'll wrap it up real quick. How much better do you think you would have been as a pitcher in baseball with yoga in your life at that time?
I'd be throwing 96, 97. I think that yoga has expounded my entire body strength and effectively. I used to have knee problems, and that affected how I drove off the mound. I wouldn't be able to do it for too long. So talk about longevity, talk about flexibility, and incorporating that into strength. I would be so much better. It's the same. It's the same thing with football players. Should take ballet. Anybody who does any lateral movements, soccer, football, hockey, anybody who's doing lateral movements on a regular should try ballet. Try
Bro,
being light on your feet.
and what else more football players should do? More football players should play soccer. I played soccer in high school. It did wonders for my footwork, just my overall endurance. Because like slow to fast way more often. It's more like a basketball style but it has the length of football.
Right.
You know, it soccer is one of the best things that happened for me.
And
How
I think that's the point. Like calling like one thing a sport, not the other, or like a strenuous activity or like something that can benefit you is about that balance. It's like as a baseball player doing yoga, as any athlete, incorporating yoga will help you be a better lifter. Like yoga has transformed how I work out. Like there's certain workouts that I do now that I'm able to get even deeper with the bar, or I'm able to get my shoulders in the right position, or like I can feel myself being balanced, and
Mhm.
that increases my weight. I'm like, oh shit, I couldn't do this before, but now that I've found a balance, now that I've found a medium for my body that is happy, you're able to take on more weight, and that's the same thing with wearing the crown. It's being able to have that discipline. It's being able to have that balance to be like, okay, now that I'm in the right position for me and my personal spirit is aligned and my
Mhm.
moral compass is aligned, now I can take on more weight. Now I can lead more people. I've gone through shit. I've come out better, and I can teach and inform people of what they can do. You know what I mean? Not necessarily what they should do, just giving them options and making it
Mhm.
very understandable. People definitely are able to grow from those experiences. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. One last question for you because I want to
Boom.
get this in before you die.
Yeah.
Your phone dies, not you actually.
My
Matt,
man.
how, because of what yoga offers and to athletes, right? And just imagine what it offers to yay person at home in their day to day. How do we normalize yoga? Because it's available on YouTube. It's all over. Like you don't have to pay to do yoga,
Yeah.
right? How can we normalize yoga? Because as someone who's added it to my life, I got to add it more, but someone who's added to like my routine, I appreciate the benefits of it. I see what it does for me, the balance that it gives me, the way it helps me correct some stuff with my body, and also lets me know that, hey, ooh, this ain't right because
Right.
it's making me hit muscles that I don't regularly hit. How can we normalize this? Because I think that
I love it. I love it.
I think we just need it because if especially for athletes, if you can figure out like this balance and ways to like get into your body and learn your body sooner, you become better because I bet you learn some things about yourself athletically after your athletic career and you were like, shit, I wish
Yeah.
my body could have done this when
I
I was
wish
young.
I knew that, or I wish I had those cues. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this exactly. Three things, right? First
Okay.
is access. It shouldn't cost $30 to go to a yoga class, $20 to go to a yoga class. It shouldn't be $150 to have a pass. It just shouldn't. Yoga is for people, and the knowledge is ours. We just forgot it or lost it, but like being able to just access it. That's the first thing. The
Okay.
second thing is having examples. I'm a black man, 6'4", 200 pounds. You got to be able to find and see other people of your stature be able to do that. Go
And
ahead.
no disrespect to where you're at in life now, you have a great track record. And a lot of people don't be, you know what I mean? Like that's the way that men get judged in life.
Right.
And if niggas knew you way back in the day, they'd be like,
Yoga.
okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It provides a little bit more like it adds validation to it for people who may look at it on some other shit. You know what I mean?
Right. No, for sure, for sure. And that brings me to my last one. It's buy-in. It's the fact that, you may not know everything about yoga and you may not like really get it, but being able to just like do some of the basics. Like try the 10-minute, sun salutations. Just try it. Being open to it and buy into the fact that it could possibly help. And it may not be helpful the very first time either. Most things aren't helpful the very first time you do it. Most things you have to try it over and over and over again. Think about taking notes in school. My notes were terrible in high school, middle school, yada yada, college. But then my girlfriend has a way of doing notes that is annoying as fuck. It's so annoying how she does notes. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should try it to make it better for me and my knowledge and how I learn things. And then it completely transformed how I take notes about everything now. And my shit is so much more organized. And I feel good about even going back to it. And that's another thing. Going back to the knowledge is like, it's like if you don't, it's going back to that recreating the wheel structure thing. It's like, all right, I got to recreate this wheel because it's got to be my own and mine this and that and the third. It's like, no, some things are pretty well made. You know, just sculpt it to the way that you like it, but be open to learning some new shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Hey, Matt, that was fucking beautiful.
Big
Like,
baby.
bro, when I tell you I came in here with like no notes, I'm like, all right, we're gonna start here and we're just gonna see where it goes. And we hit so much shit.
So much shit. We hit Hitler. I mean, goddamn.
And but what I love about it is it just speaks to the beauty of like some of the friendships that I've made, to where it's we have all these different common points in life. We don't have to talk on the phone. Like, niggas know what it is, and then we can hop on here and have a great conversation and just hit all this different stuff that we've like talked about in a group text from a distance, but never like directly talked about.
Yeah,
but then being able to like draw back to that to know what we're talking about, man. And thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on here.
Yo, thank you so much too. And you know, before I did the interview, I wanted to like look up and see a couple of your things, and you know, I just watched like 4 or 5 of them, and I'm just like, I gotta add it to my diet because it's positive. You know what I mean? And maybe not every episode's for me, but just like I said, sometimes you gotta do a couple things and get through it, and you know, that's where you land. And I just really appreciate you having me, dog. I enjoyed our conversation. I've learned some things from our conversation, and you know, we just continue to grow and support each other. You know what I mean? And just be there.
Hey, learning occurred, man, and shit. Hey, thank you so much, dog.
My boy, AC, be safe.
Enjoy. All right, you too, Matt.
I'll talk to you soon. All right, buddy. We'll get
into the
chat.
Yep.
Peace.
Yep. Hope y'all enjoyed that, man. That's my guy, Matt, bro. We had a great time, man. Great conversation. Big baby! About to fry up some birds.